G'day, welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be doing the chassis build on the TT-01 Type E chassis, the Tamiya, the Skyline, HKS Skyline there. I'm a bit out of sorts at the moment. I've lost my chair so I need a new chair, so that's everything looks different because I'm normally, you know, down here somewhere. Anyway, so that's in. Because the camera's all over the place, I can kind of show you like that what it looks like. I'm pretty happy with it. Quite a simple build. Yeah, there's really not much to it. Alrighty, we'll get on with the build. Alright, so what I'm up to here in this mess, I got ahead of myself and put the glued the tyres onto the wheels and put the inserts in the middle. I even put the sticker on. The only problem with that is I noticed it says nothing about it in the instructions, but on the box art it's actually painted silver right up to this edge here on the inside. So I've masked this off and I've used a bit of liquid mask around the edge where I didn't cut a nice piece of tape properly. Yeah, so I'm going to hit that with the airbrush. In the airbrush I've got a bit of XF16 flat aluminium, and on the tyre I've run some liquid mask using this stuff. I've run that with a brush right up to the edge of the rim, well, as good as I can get it, and just wrapped a bit of tape around the edge. So I've got liquid mask all over the outside of the tyre, and I'll spray this around the inside here and around the outside of that. Then later on I'll use a bit of flat black just in the middle, just so you can't see when you look through the spokes, you're not seeing this grey plastic. Alrighty, so I'll give that a bit of a crack. So I'll let that dry off a bit and I'll get onto this. So I'll give this a bit more of a go. Give that a bit of a dry with a heat gun. And I'll just give it one more coat. Try to get a reasonably even coat there. You don't see much of the edge because once I put the center in, you know, it's pretty well covered. There. Maybe I'll give this one more little bit. Alrighty, I reckon that'll do us. So I'll let them dry, get the masking off, and put a bit of black in here and in here. Sorry if you couldn't see it. And we'll be right to go. Alrighty, I decided to put the flat black in the center before I bother unmasking. It's probably a smarter move. So I've got a bit of XF1 flat black, again thinned with some enamel thinner in the airbrush, and I'll just get around the center there and you know, just to make a bit of a shadow on the inside. Now I'm running it pretty thin so I can run lower pressure on the airbrush, and then I don't get overspray going everywhere. Now I'll give that a bit of a dry. And just give it a little bit more. And that'll probably do, just so it's not bright silver behind there. Alrighty, I'll get this unmasked and we can have a look at it. And there it is, all unmasked. So that's the finished product. As you can see, it's all black behind there and got silver up to the edge here. So now I've got yeah, 3 more to go and we can get on with the build. And there's all the wheels done. Now we can get on with the build. And as it goes, as soon as I started the build, I got to step 6 there, and I needed some bearings which I didn't have, so I did an order and there they are. The 1280 bearings for the diff. Alrighty, moving on. So I greased the diff up and put the bearings in, put the diff in, and then it was time to get onto the rear arms and suspension. And that's your rear hubs ready to go. Got the ball bearings in there. So I've got the rear body mounts on, and got the hubs on with the axles in. I had to switch the top arms. I had to turn over. I had them on the wrong way. As you can see in the instructions, the arms are kind of directional. It depends whether you're going long wheelbase or short wheelbase. I assume we're going long. It doesn't really say, but I'm going for the long version. There we can put the little balls in the front arms. Got these 3 done, and they just go in with a simple pop like that. And then put some grease on them. From there it was time to get onto the front diff, and it's the same as the rear diff. Put some grease on the bits and the gears, and stick the gears in, and then basically screw the ring gear on the outside. Pretty easy. And that's the front diff all done. Now time to get onto the front steering knuckles. So grab an axle, stick a bearing on it, put the knuckle on, and another bearing. Then after that we can go and fit the out drives to the front gearbox, and put the dog bones in place. Then we can grab our front knuckles we assembled earlier and screw them in. I'm not really keen on the plastic drive shafts and prop shaft and things like that, so I do plan on doing a full upgrade on it in a later video. I'll probably get like the air racing full alloy kit or something, and get the CVD drives, upgrade the prop shaft, all the good stuff. There we go, got the front diff in, got the axles and front hubs on. And yeah, time to move on to the shocks. I like how simple the shocks are. They're probably not going to be very effective at all, being pogo stick type shocks. But yeah, they're really simple. You just put the ring over the shock body, bang a spring on it, stick the shaft in there, stick the top cap in the top, and then the spring spacer just locks it all together. Naturally I'll upgrade these shocks later to oil shocks, or maybe even some TRF ones, I don't know. But I'll get something better for it. That'll be in a later video. So now that the shocks are all assembled, I can go and fit them up. Then when fitting shocks, I like to screw the tops in first. No real reason, I just find it easier. And of course you always got to give them the squeeze test at the end. Now these little hex screws need to stick out of the chassis 5mm. They're for the sleeves for the steering arms. And there's the steering arms I've already assembled. They're in step 20. So we'll stick the sleeves on, and then we can put our steering arms on. I probably should have tightened the sleeves with some pliers or something, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere. They're going to have a screw in the top from the top plate, and I'll be changing them soon anyway when I upgrade the steering. Now that the steering arms are both on, we can go and screw the tie rods to the steering knuckles. Now 4 850 bearings would have been a nice upgrade for the steering there, but I didn't bother. I'm changing the steering anyway at a later date. Now we can fit the foam bumper. So we just bang the foam on there, put the top plate on, and screw in a couple of screws. And that's the chassis, almost fully completed, just needs radio and stuff in it. So I'll get onto that now. And first up, we've got to set up the servo. There's a couple of things I'll point out here. So you need to check the orientation of that arm there, and you also need to measure the servo and check which way around you need to put the servo mounts. Now we're onto the servo saver, and you've got to check the orientation of this little arm here. It's got a, as you can see there, it's got a little piece sticking out, so that has to go against the long arm. So that's right, so we can screw it together. Now that the two arms are screwed together, I can go and screw them to the front of the servo saver. And there's our servo. I'll be using the Power HD 3001 HB analog servo. It's basically just a standard servo. Then we put the first piece of the servo saver on the servo that's already been centered, and put the plastic spring in there. Then the front of the servo saver. Bang the little washer in there, and then put the screw in. Now I need to measure the servo to see which way the servo mounts go. In this case I'm measuring my servo, and it looks like it's around 9 to 10 mil. So I'll be mounting the servo mount with the hollowed out part of the mount facing to the back of the servo. And to make life a bit easier, since the servo doesn't have full holes in it, it's got slotted kind of holes, you can put the screws in the servo mount first, put them only in about halfway, then just clip them in the side of the servo and continue screwing them in. It's just kind of easier than fumbling around with, you know, everything. And there's our servo all finished, ready to go in the car. Now it's time to put the steering servo in. Pretty simple. 2 screws through the bottom. Once they're in, flip it over and put the 2 screws in the top for the steering linkage. Now before I put in the ESC, I want to change the plug on it. Get rid of that Tamiya plug that melts pretty easily, and stick a Dean's connector on there. Been using them for, I don't know, 30 years. They're great. Not really sure why Tamiya keeps using those plugs. Anyway, whatever. If they keep making them, I'll keep cutting them off. My little jig here didn't want to really stay still on the bench. I had it on its side instead of on its rubber feet because I was standing up. Yeah, it's usually pretty good if it's on its rubber feet. Now what I'll do here is, I took the motor out. The motor wires are just too long for me because they're going to sit about here in the car. So we've got all this wire hanging out, and that one too. I'll cut that one off because I never plan on running brushless in it. Don't even really plan on upgrading the motor even after I do all the alloy gear and stuff on it, but we'll see. So I'll hack this one off here, and basically I'll cut it off and then fold it over and put a bit of shrink tube on it. So about there, I guess. So that's the one we normally use for the brushless motor, so we won't be needing that. Fold him up, put a bit of tube over. And if I ever need to in the future, I can undo that and extend the wire. Just give that a bit of heat. Yeah, it should be good. So I'll take these motor wires off here. I'll go and put that in the vise. Right, so I've got our motor wires off there. Don't need them anymore. I'll cut these to the right length. Now it's going to sit in the car something like that. Yellow wire goes to the bottom. Bit of shrink tube over there, why not? And that looks pretty good for the blue one, about there. Yeah, a little bit of shrink tube on there as well. Now we can solder our motor wires on. I'll go and put that in the vise. Alrighty, so now I've got it in the vise. Minimal pressure, of course, just on the front plate, on the mounting plate. So there's one. And there's the other one. All done. Now we can put our shrink tubing over. And there we go. Give it a bit of heat, shrink the tubing. Now we can go and put it back in the car. So there it is in the car. I haven't actually fitted it yet. It's just in there. Give you an idea. So those wires will just sit in there, something like that. Reasonably neat. And the beauty of the FlySky receiver here, instead of being up on there like the instructions say, that'll slip in nicely right there. Looks like it's made for it. Alrighty, we'll get on with sticking these in and tidy up the wiring. Now with a couple of bits of double-sided tape and grandma's old scissors, I can stick the receiver and ESC in. Now that's in. Did some more tidying of the wires, and I actually shortened the power wire that goes to the switch, just to get it out of the way, and I don't want a big ball of wire sitting there, you know. So that's all looking pretty tidy, I think. Now we can put the top plate and motor guard and things on there. So fitting the top deck on there, got to put the antenna mount on first. One screw in the bottom, too easy. Then fit on the deck, we put 4 screws in the front end, and then 4 screws in the rear end. Now since I'm using the motor guard, I need to take out the 3mm by 10mm screw that I put in back in step 4, then replace it with a 3x12. And then for that final touch, the caution sticker. And now it's time to fit the little drive pins into the axles. They're always fun. And then we can stick the hex adapters on. I plan to change these hex adapters to aluminium ones later on. Now I can put the battery strap on. Then we can move on to fitting the wheels. And it's starting to look like a real car now. Hopefully the body's not too hard to paint and decal. Really not looking forward to those decals. And I think the tyres look pretty cool with the Yokohama stickers on there. Very nice. Then after that we can put the antenna tube on. And it's good that this is nice and short. It might stay under the roof line. That'll look good. And one final touch, I'll put a cable tie on the battery lead there. Stop it flapping around. And that's it. The chassis is finished. It's all done. Pretty happy with it so far. Alrighty, so that's it all done and finished. I think it'll be a bit of a goer. Should be fun. What I'm not looking forward to in a future video, I'll be doing the body. So I'll cut that out, and what I'm really not looking forward to is the decals. As you can see, I've used the tyre decals already, but yeah, 3 sheets of decals. That's going to be fun. Alrighty, if you liked the video, leave a thumb up. If you're new here, subscribe, that'd be great. And catch you on the next one.